There was a teacher at each table who led us through discussion. He said, don't worry if you make mistakes. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Just say whatever pops into your head. And of course, that sets off all kinds of alarms in your head when you know what the Bible warns about testing false prophets.
Let's talk a little bit about the School of Supernatural Ministry at Bethel, and then maybe talk a little bit about some of their views on possession, exorcisms, Sozo. Maybe we can unpack that whole thing a little bit.
Well, the Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry is it's at Redding, California, and it's a school where it's a 3-year program where primarily young people, like college-age people, will go and learn to become miracle workers. And so students at the school actually have fondly referred to their school as the Hogwarts, like Christian Hogwarts, like Hogwarts from the Harry Potter book series. The School of Wizardry. And so they've had about 13,000 graduates from the school. And these graduates, people need to understand, they're engaging in New Age type practices at the school. They're being activated in prophetic gifts, things like that. And the way people are activated in this movement, and for example, in a gift of prophecy, people need to realize like you may have 2 students stand back to back and they'll be blindfolded so they won't know who is behind them. And then they're supposed to just say whatever pops into their head is a prophetic word for the person behind them. And they can even try to guess the person's birthday or what color their door is of their childhood house, or just what their favorite movie is, things like that. This is how they're being activated in the prophetic. They're not supposed to filter their words. They're just supposed to say whatever pops into their head, unfiltered, as prophetic words. And so you have people learning these New Age type activation practices and exercises and things like that. And then they're being sent back to their churches throughout the world. And they're becoming leaders of large organizations in other countries. And so these Bethel teachings, these School of Ministry teachings and our practices are being disseminated throughout the world through the school. And on top of the school you have in Redding, many other schools of supernatural ministry have been popping up at churches throughout the nation and around the world. Many of them use the curriculum from Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry. And there's actually a school planning division at Bethel to help plant these schools. And so this is a really big thing, this Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry. And another thing you mentioned they do at Bethel is Sozo, Sozo. And that's an inner healing and deliverance ministry that's been popularized by Bethel and is now spread to churches throughout the world. But, we talked in the last episode about how Bethel really emphasizes physical healing, that if people have sickness, it's always God's will to heal them. There are no exceptions. Well, they also emphasize inner healing from, like, if anybody has any psychological issues or emotional wounds, maybe they have broken relationships, struggles with sin, besetting sin in their lives, whatever it is, they can be sozoed. So they sign up for a sozo session. And it could be, a couple hour long session. And there's these prophetically trained Sozo ministers. There'll be 1 to 3 of them who will guide the participant through the session. And they try to uncover maybe if there's demons that are the root cause of the person's problems. If there's any lies the people believe that need to be renounced. And many people who've taken part in these sessions will actually say that they recovered false memories.
Here we go.
These sessions. And so, but the people that lead the sessions claim to have a prophetic gift. And so they can give prophetic insight. God, the Holy Spirit can reveal to them maybe the source of the person's struggles and this type of thing. So Sozo has become a very popular inner healing and deliverance practice.
Doug, did you want to add anything to that or any thoughts?
No, I can't think of anything that I would add to that.
Am I conflating? I've listened to a lot of podcasts and read a lot of books. So, Holly, was it you that went to the school and talked about the whole getting drunk thing and people laughing on the floor and that kind of thing? Was that you?
Yes. Yeah, I actually visited, it wasn't the school, but I visited Bethel Church and I went to their adult Sunday school class. and they had it's called they have a 12-week session called Fire Starters. Fire Starters is another buzzword for revival, as people starting revival, and it was kind of a condensed version of Bethel School Supernatural Ministry, like a 12-week version for people who can't attend the full school. And so the class I attended that day, they were teaching people how to prophesy. They were activating people in the prophetic. And yeah, so when I was there that day, the teacher of this adult Sunday school class, he started off the class by telling everyone, okay, we're going to get drunk today. And I tell the story, I'm paraphrasing, I tell the story in the book, but he tells everyone to imagine they're holding this big like jug of wine and to drink out of it. And he would tell them to do this throughout the class whenever he felt like they needed another drink, and people would fall over and stagger like they were drunk. And so you had drunkenness in the spirit is a practice.
It's a lot cheaper though, I will say, than real
Yeah.
drunkenness.
Churches.
So that's something.
Yeah. And then they were also people who had never prophesied before. They could come to the front of the room and learn to prophesy. So they would have someone come to the front of the room and pick someone in the audience they didn't know and just say whatever popped into their head as a prophetic word for that person. And they were being activated in the prophetic that way. And then the teacher at my table, there was a teacher at each table who led us through discussion. He said, don't worry if you make mistakes. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Just say whatever pops into your head. And of course that sets off all kinds of alarms in your head when you know what the Bible warns about testing false prophets and the dangers of false prophets. So
I'm just imagining like Elijah sitting at a table with some other guys and they're like, listen, don't worry if you don't get it right. It's fine. Oh my gosh, that would have gone really poorly on Mount Carmel. I'm just saying, like, good thing you got it right. Goodness. So, and then I won't say her name because I know there's some controversy around this that I just learned about when we were chatting before we started recording, but there was someone who had come out of Bethel School of Ministry and School of Supernatural, who was talking about her experience. And she talked about there would be like mass exorcisms in classes, like the classes of students that are going there to become, I don't know, teachers of this, purveyors, prophets, whatever. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, well, this person did describe a mass exorcism that she said she saw happen at Bethel Church in Reading. And the way she described it was that everybody in the room was like screaming as demons were allegedly coming out of them. But
these are all Christians, presumably, ostensibly, that are coming to this. So does the NAR believe that Christians can be possessed?
They might. So there might be differences on what leaders teach about whether someone could be possessed or oppressed, if you're aware of the distinctions in the terminology. But yeah, they definitely believe that believers can come under demonic influence, however they want to call that. And so that's why like the Sozo sessions are so popular. And I've heard reports that that many of the people who minister at Bethel Church, just as volunteers in different capacities, are required to go through Sozo sessions. Because the belief is that is very common for demons to afflict even Christians, and deliverance sessions like that are very common.
Man, it makes me, when you start talking about repressed memories, I mean, a lot of cults start this way, right? I mean, there was just the special ad on Hulu about the cult at Sarah Lawrence University, and it was small, but the guy basically convinced them through, the missing sleep and taking drugs and just being really charismatic of all these terrible things, like their parents had raped them or parents had kept them, in dangerous situations. And then got to the point where he convinced them all, where they really believed it, that they had poisoned people or were poisoned by people. This is all through this kind of thing. Like, this is a dangerous thing. These Sozo sessions are messing with things we ought not mess with.
Yeah, we talk about this in our book, but there are stories of multiple stories of people whose children went off to Bethel and then suddenly started accusing the parents of abusing them when they were young. They didn't remember that, but this was maybe recovered during a Sozo session. And so, we talk about in our book how studies have shown that false memories can be produced during practices associated with recovered memory therapy. And so we talked about how prominent professional organizations, including the American Medical Association, the American Psychological Association, and the Australian Psychological Society, and the British Royal College of Psychiatrists, they have all issued strong warnings against such practices of trying to, recover memories like that because of the danger of false memories being recovered.
Yeah. Man, it's so sad to think as a parent that your child could go off and come back and really believe it, not just say it. Oh, okay. Heartbreaking.